Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be coloring another set of comics for my Small Hero comic series. This will have 5 frames in total, and for this video I'm going to do the first 2 frames. They're small, but there's a lot of color detail in them, so I thought it would be interesting to watch, and I'm using markers and color pencils, which is the tools I'm most comfortable with, and hopefully I can give you some tips if that's what you're looking for. I started out by putting, of course, the plastic underneath the paper because this will definitely bleed through to the other side, this type of paper, but it is very nice paper and it works really well, super smooth. And then I went over the whole drawing with a kneadable eraser, and I went through any angles or anything where there was extra pencil lines with my mechanical eraser just to make sure that everything was looking really clean before I started, because if you put marker over top of any pencil lines, then they will stay there. They're not going to be erasable after. So I just wanted to make sure that everything was looking good before I started putting marker on it. I did pick a color palette to go with this whole comic, the 5 frames to start, and it has about 6 colors or so in it. I knew I was going to have to add some more as time went on and I did more frames, but I was starting with the basics with what I have right now for only these 2 starting frames, which are quite simple, but there's a lot of detail in them. So I wanted to pick some nice colors to start with and something that I could easily expand from as I go on in the comic, because there's going to be, like for example, I'll need water or sky as the scenes expand, because some of the frames are pretty large. So yeah, I wanted to make sure I was safe. So it's good to plan before you do that. And here are my beautiful pencils that I love so much. I can't shut up about them. You know the story. So I started in by doing some nice shadows on this frog. I've always drawn frogs like this, I noticed, for like years now, and I don't think I'll stop because I think that they look really cute. And this frog is unfortunately very sad and lonely, and you can see he's kind of down in the dumps, and he's just looking at his little crown because he's a little froggy prince. So I'm working on the rocks, kind of letting him be slumped there and kind of getting the vibe of that. I decided that I did want it to be almost sunset in this one, where we're starting the mood. So it's just about to be nighttime. So it's even kind of like, oh, he needs to get going. It's like something needs to happen or he's going to be stuck here all night. And I had to put a little snail there because I thought it was cute. And something that I find with color pencils and markers is to have a couple neon colors is super useful for me personally. I guess that's a style-based thing, but I have this color called luminous green, and I have a Prismacolor neon orange that I use all the time, and I have a bunch of neon colors from Holbein, and I just find them so useful. I use them in just about every time I pull my color pencils out, so I can't recommend them enough. And I did a lot of work on these boulders to make them kind of have like the cool shadows, and I put a lot of purple in there and made it highly saturated. I just really wanted it to look really cool and have you look at it for a little while, and I hope I got that. I sure like how they turned out though, so I'm really happy about it. As I'm doing this voiceover, I only have 1 frame left, and I have already done the next 2 frames after this video, and that gets to be a lot bigger in the next video that I'm going to show you about this. So she is going on a little journey because she needs to help this frog in need. Using my favorite color erase pencil from Prismacolor, which is brown. I use it all the time. It's my go-to pencil for doing all the line work and the shading to unify everything, I like to bring one color around everywhere, and that always seems to be my brown Prismacolor pencil. I like to shade around the edges of where the shadows are strongest to kind of bring them out even more, and then just do some of the lines and darken some part of the lines and create line weight and stuff like that. And then I use this Faber-Castell white pen, which also comes in handy a lot. I would recommend getting one. It's a kind of like white paint sort of in there, but it's really light, and you can also color over it with marker or pencil. So one of those is great. And then I just went over the letters, and this is the first part done. Now I'm going to move on to the second frame, which is the small hero finding the frog and trying to help him and cheer him up because she sees that he's sad. And I didn't want to go into too much detail about the rocks and everything again, because I basically did the same thing that I did in the first frame, except I just simplified it because you're looking at it from a further distance, so it didn't need as much detail, and I wanted the detail to be in the character of the small hero, mostly just focusing on her for this frame. And I had to be really light-handed when I was doing this, especially around her hair and where her arm is and things like that, because the red is a really bright, sort of darker color, and it tends to bleed. And when I'm doing things like this, when they're really small drawings, to avoid bleeding as much as possible, I'm just really, really light-handed. I go kind of quick and kind of keep it off the page as much and use the point as much as I can and just kind of hope for the best. I mean, you can always fix stuff with the color pencil as well, but this one turned out really nice. And again, I think that using good paper helps a lot with this. And I'm using actually the Royal Talons sketchbook again. I had mentioned it before I started using them, and I'm really happy with this type of paper. So maybe that's why it was working out. But I also, was just trying to be really, really light with the markers and not go over too many spots at the same time. And I like to let the marker dry fully and then go over it again if I feel I need a second pass with the marker. That's what's safest with small drawings like this, just to make sure you don't get the bleed over on the lines. I was just really worried about where the hair is because it goes up onto the little cap, so that was my concern, but I was just really, really careful. And I did speed this video up. I know it kind of looks like I'm going normal time, but it actually is like 1.5 speed, so at some of the parts. So I was going pretty slowly just to make sure for the marker bits. I always find myself going to this neon orange Prismacolor pencil. It's just perfect. It's really highly saturated. I really like it for a little extra pop, and I really wanted it to look like the sun was setting even more on this frame, like she had come across him at a later time, of course, than the first frame, and it was already a bit sunset in the first one, so in my head I just imagined it as being like the sun is almost down, basically, and I wanted everything to look very orangey and glowy, so I was having fun using it. I guess that's the only difference, is that the lighting is a little bit different in this one versus the top frame. Whenever I'm doing grass for small drawings like this, I just take the chisel end of the alcohol marker, I turn it sideways, and I just do quick little strokes of the marker, and I use different colors, usually a pinkish color or a brownish, yellowish, and a couple greens, just to give some differences in the colors and to make it look like there's more going on there, like there's dirt and other things on the ground as well. I'm so excited for you guys to see the finished comic, and thank you so much for watching, and you'll see me next week. Okay, bye!